Welcome to another video. Becoming wealthy is like a game, and to win a game, you have to be familiar with the rules. The better you know the rules, the faster you can become filthy rich. In this video, I'll tell you the 7 secret rules of money. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more smart money concepts. Let me tell you a story of a man named John. He learned the 7 secret rules of money that helped him quit his full-time job and fulfill his dreams of being an international traveler. John was a 35-year-old regular employee at a medium-sized IT company in Mexico. He was not really happy about his job, but what could he do? This was the only thing that helped him pay the bills. On an ordinary day, Paul, a new colleague, was introduced to him. He is in his early 50s working as a consultant computer engineer in their company. John was wondering why Paul was always so happy. He sees him walking down the hallway with a smile on his face. He eats his lunch, again smiling. When John saw Paul in the cafeteria having lunch alone, he couldn't help himself, so he asked Paul why he always looked so cheerful. They had a conversation that John didn't realize would change his life. At first, Paul gave very little information about himself. He said there are many reasons to be happy. John kept asking out of curiosity. He opened up and told Paul how boring his job as a data clerk is. He saw how unhappy he is about his everyday routine. Finally, he was able to make Paul talk about himself more openly. He said that being a computer engineer is already his second career that he had learned after his retirement several years ago. John was surprised. He couldn't understand how Paul could have retired and gone back to university to learn computer engineering at that age. So he asked more. Paul explained that he retired at the age of 40, enjoying traveling for some time and finished his degree in computer engineering. He also said that his life was not always as happy as it is now. He told John that they were in the same boat when he was younger. He was a stockbroker in New York. He earned enough, but he was just not happy. Like John, he also had to force himself to go to work every single day. The conversation was getting more and more interesting, so John kept asking questions. He then asked how Paul was able to retire at such a young age. Now, this is the most interesting part of the conversation that caused John's life to change. Paul said he learned the secret rules of money. He doesn't usually share the secret with everyone, but since John was very eager to learn about him and had spent the whole week having lunch with him, Paul decided that he wanted to help John. Why do I sense that you're even more excited than John? Okay, here we go then. Rule number 1. Pay yourself before anything else. Many people admitted that they do have the intention to save, but they just couldn't do it. In a 2017 survey, 1 of 6 respondents said that they hadn't had time to set up a savings plan. Paul said that even if you have the determination to save, there might be unexpected expenses. So if you don't know how much you could save, you will not know how much you can spend. Paul explained that more than 60% of Americans don't budget, which affects their ability to save. Having no financial insight plus low wages causes 3/4 of working Americans to live paycheck to paycheck. So how can they even save up? Paul said that he was once like that until he knew about some simple tricks. Number 1. 20-30-50 method. Monthly, your income should be divided this way. 50% should be allocated for living expenses like rent, utilities, and groceries. 30% goes toward entertainment expenses like eating out or going to a movie. 20% is for your savings. Paul said that when he has planned how to use his income, he has an idea about how much he can save for that month. In some cases, though, his savings could be less than the amount he intended to save. That made him come up with a second method. Number 2, set up automated deductions. Paul told John that a certain amount can go to the savings account instead of having everything deposited to your checking account. I guess that's clear. Let's talk about the next rule. Rule number 2, saving will never make you wealthy. Although Paul thinks saving is important, he also admitted that it doesn't make anyone rich. Why? Because the amount of money you keep in your savings account will not really grow with only 0.09% interest. So let's say you have $100,000 in your savings account. After a year, you can only earn $90. He then mentioned the importance of investing. He was fortunate enough to learn about the power of compounding at an early age. He started investing $250 a week every single week at the age of 18. 22 years later, he received an average return of 10%. So when he retired at the age of 40, he had $1 million. $750,000 of that amount was compounded interest he had earned. This is the same amount of money he continues to spend many years later. This is only doable because he spends his money wisely. Moving on to rule number 3. You should spend less than what you earn. That seems self-explanatory. Unfortunately, many are not able to follow this rule. Sad to say, in this materialistic world, people care more about considering a new iPhone than saving up for their retirement. These ill-considered decisions usually cause someone to spend more than their means. To attain financial freedom, you have to spend less than what you earn and put away the difference. By having savings, you can enjoy a lot of benefits. Like what, you might ask? Well, you can have peace of mind not having to worry about unexpected financial difficulties. You can also start a business which can make your initial investment 2 or 3 times bigger once your company becomes successful. Lastly, when you invest wisely, you can have enough finances to quit your boring full-time jobs, like Paul. Oh, it seems like someone else wants to quit too. Well, we've got more tips for you. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified whenever we post a new video. Rule number 4. You should have emergency funds. It might not seem so exciting to set up emergency funds, but they are definitely the most important. Paul explained that emergency funds should be the top priority. It is true that he mentioned keeping a certain amount in a savings account is not the best use of your money, but it comes in handy to have some funds in case of emergency. Since John doesn't totally understand how important emergency funds are, Paul emphasized this rule even more. He shared a story about his wife getting hospitalized for about 3 months. Unsure if she would recover, Paul decided to take some time off of work to spend time with his wife as much as possible. Fortunately, she fully recovered, but without their emergency fund, they might have not been able to deal with that situation easily. So Paul urged John to put aside 1 year's living expenses for their emergency funds. Rule number 5. Not all debts are bad if you use them wisely. If you're using your credit card to buy a new phone and clothes or applying for a loan to buy a fancy new car, think again. Not only do these things depreciate fast, the interest can also be really high. So if you want to purchase a depreciating asset like a car, as a rule of thumb, you should pay cash. Wait until you can afford it or buy a less expensive one. Paying for college or buying a new house can be difficult without going into debt, but those are considered good long-term investments, so they are actually good debts. Why? Because they increase your net worth. Rule number 6. The more you learn, the more you earn. Paul tries to expand his knowledge every single day. He wasn't a keen learner until he became a huge fan of Bill Gates during the early years of Microsoft. He found out that Bill Gates even took a reading vacation to take more time for his favorite books. Another one that inspired him to keep learning was Warren Buffett, the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He reads 5 hours a day. Can you imagine that? They made him realize that he should read on a daily basis as it helps him learn new insights, concepts, and have a wider perspective. Like the younger Paul, John was also not a bookworm, but Paul made him understand that he should begin to love reading. He suggested books about social skills, business development, economics, and other self-development related topics. Reading about current events can also help you with major decisions in life. Rule number 7. Money doesn't give you happiness. John was really excited to apply all the tips he had learned to be rich and buy everything he wants. He felt like this would make him happy. Paul then explained that money can only make him happy when he spends it wisely. So when doesn't money make us happier? Many people think that when they buy the latest model of iPhone or buy trendy clothes, they can be happy. But they don't realize that material happiness doesn't last forever. The popularity of those material things won't even last for a year or so. A new item would be released. So does that mean you have to buy the new one again? The spending cycle goes on and on. Sadly, it makes a lot of people broke. Clearly, it is not a source of happiness. What purchases can make you happy? Paul explained that spending money for your loved ones can give you satisfaction. Every time they use what you gave them, it puts a smile not only on their faces and yours too. He also said traveling can be a great way to spend money. By doing so, you can enjoy different parts of the world and create unforgettable memories that you can appreciate for a lifetime. John definitely learned a lot from Paul in a single conversation. He was excited to use the 7 secret rules of money to attain financial freedom, quit his job, and be an international traveler. So, what happened to John? After 10 years, he handed in his resignation letter and was ready to enjoy his financial freedom. What an amazing story, you might say. Well, you can be the next John if you make sure that you don't miss our next video. Click the like and subscribe buttons now.